Hi everyone. I would like to share a few exercises and directions of inner work. This is from the point of view of guarding the heart or cleansing the heart, purifying the heart from egoic tendencies. This appears in many traditions. It appears very much in Christian mysticism, as well as in the Fourth Way, other teachings. So, due to having lived in self-forgetfulness and ignorance of what we are, being raised by people in the same setting, we have learned and we have embodied a lot of wrong habits or painful habits at all levels, in the mind, in the emotional center, in the body. So this is more about the emotional center, the heart. And the idea, this is like a preparatory work, purifying work. Because if our heart, our emotional center is full of egoic tendencies, reactive emotion, stories about me, special me, wanting to be recognized me, bad me, upset with people, judging people, churning on thoughts about people. So it means that the space in this room of the heart is filled with unconscious patterns that take the space, don't allow for something higher to be, promotes and reinforces egoic, separate self-tendencies. And it is said in the teachings that if you don't fill the space with something conscious, something higher, something mechanical will take its place. So this purification is cleaning up the house, the emotional house, to prepare for the arrival of the master, meaning to prepare, cleanse the heart, to prepare to have more frequent, longer and deeper moments of self-remembering, or the presence to be more consciously experienced and to live from presence, from being. All right, so practically speaking now, there's some suggested exercises for the next couple of weeks. There are certain tendencies that not only that fill the space with unconscious stuff, but also leaks our energy, Part of the work is to plug the leaks. We have a certain amount of energy and we need to accumulate more energy in order to fuel a wakefulness. But we leak our energy in negative emotions, expression of unpleasant emotion, in judgments, in inner considering, all of this dance, trying to be seen in a certain way, recognized, appreciated. And we are feeling wounded or hurt if we don't get this feedback from the world. But here are some practical exercises. So, to swallow some juicy story. That's the exercise. Swallow some juicy story. What I mean by that, sometimes we have this tendency to meet with friends and then we are compulsively going into some story that we have said it a bunch of times before, where the essence of the story is like, oh my God, look what happened. Oh my God, you can't believe what happened to me, or you can't believe what happened to that person. So it's some form of indignation, a form of righteousness, a form of complaining, a form of talking our problems. Yeah. And usually we kind of keep saying the same story, juicy story over and over to the point that it feels off within ourselves, and we don't even know what really happened there because we kept milking this. Also, by going into this story, so story about me. So swallowing, talking about myself, talking about my problems, talking about my difficulties. I mean, it's fine to have a friend or a therapist to share some difficulty, that's important, that can be helpful, rather than keep it all in and not even know what's happening. So put it on the table with somebody wise that's helpful. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about some chronic, compulsive tendency to take space and to blabber. Yeah? So the exercise is to watch for that. Watch what are your recurrent tendency about that and what drives that. In order to let that go, it's important to find out the subconscious payoff or the juice that we are getting from going one more time into the story. Sometimes that juice could be, I get to feel the victim. I get to be a victim. I get to get pity. I get to get sympathy in order to get love. Or I get to be seen as special, super special and spiritual, above all the other people. Or, sometimes we do have deeper states of realization, and we have certain insights that come from our honest, sincere, genuine heart, spiritual heart. But then the ego tendencies come and takes credit for it. It's like, oh, wow, I had this experience and this or that. So work for the next 2 weeks towards observing these tendencies and swallowing it. It comes. Let it not be said, and use that as a shock, as a reminder to get back to being present, being fully present. Observe where you feel this compulsion in the body, what's going on. This wants to express itself, and instead of blabbering out that energy, we want to use that energy to fuel the fire of giving attention to the self. So self-attentiveness, being aware that we are, as well as all that is happening in the inner world, outer world, living awake. Another exercise along the same lines is to notice perhaps that you'll often find yourself thinking about some person, chewing on a bone. They shouldn't do that. I don't like how they keep doing that. And somehow, in this state of self-forgetfulness, I'm keep going to the mental court in the mind with this person, talking to them and talking about them to other people, or rehashing the situation. There's underlying resentment, upset, indignation. So discover what are your most top hits here, most favorite hits, about whom you keep thinking. Yeah? So if there's a recurring subject of thinking, feeling about someone, it means that there is some underlying charge, underlying something. And part of the work of preparing the heart is to align our heart with lovingness, to be of goodwill, loving, kind, supportive, benevolent towards all life, including ourselves. Yeah, this attitude can take us very far, according to David Hawkins. So it's a way to align our heart with the understanding that we are all one. It's just one being. So if I'm upset with someone, I hurt someone, I gossip about someone, and I'm hurting myself. So that's why it's important to notice if we are churning on a bone with something, with someone. And if it's recurring, yeah, see what's the utility? the subconscious utility, the payoff of thinking about them in that way, and try to find out what's the seeming utility. I get to be the victim, I get to reject them, I get to protect myself from them, I get to whatever. But ultimately those utilities, they don't quite work. There might be something there. Maybe you need to talk to them, you need to put a boundary, you are not expressing what's true, you are being a good boy or a good girl or a pleaser. Yeah? So if there is an active charge with someone, you can even close your eyes now and see all your relations, friends, family, co-workers, lovers, boyfriend, and see if I feel any charge meaning that I have some judgment, some resentment, some upset, or even like mild rejection. Notice, do I have something like that towards anybody? And if you do, it's really important to not let it linger and let it become full of pus. So it's good to clean it up. There are different ways to clean it up. If you have a charge, I have this process from men's work called clearing a charge, where some simple steps. You bring the person up, you acknowledge, see them in your mind's eye, or you can write down what's the data, what happened, they said this, they did that, what are my judgments, what are my thoughts, judgments, what are my emotions. Then we go back in the past. Very likely this reminds me of some painful stuff from the past. So checking out to see the past file, you know, what do I see behind this person? I see my stepdad and I see my corrupt first guru, teacher. So acknowledge what is behind it, because often I'm not just dealing with Joe, I'm dealing with Joe and other people that kind of played this thing. And it all links down to some early wound. Anyway, so go through steps like that. Bring to awareness these things. And then there are a few more steps, like, you know, what is it that I truly need from that person, assuming I may never get it, because we can't control people. And then ultimately, what do I need from myself? They may or they may not change, but what do I need from myself? How do I need to be with this situation rather than reacting, giving my heart attention to this thing uselessly, squeezing fresh, squeezed pain body? Yeah, instead of doing that, to how would I act from a highest, wisest self? Not waiting for the whole world to be conscious and saintly for me to be okay. How to deal with unconsciousness of other people in a way that is useful for the work. So you have here below, if you find you have a charge, or yeah, there is this clearing process below. You can use that. So once again, swallowing a juicy story about myself, complaining. You don't have to do it 100%, but you will see how interesting it is to see how it comes. This impulse, like with some friends, nothing to say, and then, oh, you know what happened, you know? Whoa. And then, you know, what's happened there is that we also get identified, meaning that the being, it gets sucked into this impulse, and then we are taking space, and it's unnecessary talk, inner considering, all of these obstacles, leaking energy that we need for more wakefulness. Yeah, all right. So let me know how it goes. Guarding the heart, cleansing the heart, preparing the heart for the bridegroom, so to say, for conscious presence. Conscious presence cannot stay too long if the house is messy with all the skeletons and ego tendencies.